the Mothership Connection on YouTube and Facebook.
Do not attempt to adjust your computer. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show. The Mothership flies one more time through cyberspace. My name is Dobie Maxwell, also known as the King of Uranus, and I'm flanked by my crew here in cyberspace. Greg DeGuire with his camouflage. You can't even see him. You can see his head.
That's why the government can't find me.
Floating here. The conspiracy theory expert, Master Kegler, among other things. To his right, Carrie Turner, our Millennial Falcon, is here one more time. We have a very interesting guest we will get to in just a second. And this is episode number 27.
28.
28.
That is unbelievable to me.
We have the cosmic time travel.
Yes.
We're having a very fun time. If you want to go check out our archives, go check them out at our YouTube page.
Yeah, they're all in a playlist under here, so you'll see them in the links below.
Binge watch.
Yes.
If that's what you have to do.
That's going to be like 10 hours plus of videos right there. That's a lot.
I've watched more than that of Breaking Bad on Netflix in one shot.
We're kind of breaking wind in solar
Not Breaking Bad, Breaking Wind.
What we're going to talk about today is the big movie Star Wars, the latest incarnation of it. We all have our opinions of it. We have our guest here who is going to introduce our fine guest.
Johnny K.
Johnny K is here. Star Wars expert. Rumor has it you talked to George Lucas.
Yeah, phone interview.
Phone interview? Did you call collect?
I wish I did.
Collect call from Johnny. I'll take it. Okay. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know anybody that actually talked to him.
Well, it was a couple of years ago. I was a college student. I was doing a class project on George Lucas for the course and the subject of it, and so I decided to choose George Lucas. And one of the things I thought about when I was doing my project was, well, he's still alive. I might as well see if I could contact him. And this was at the beginning of the semester, and I called up Skywalker Ranch is what they had the contact under, and I emailed the secretary, and she got back to me, and I gave my credentials as a college student, and she said, well, it would have to take a while, so it took a couple months to finally get a 20-minute phone interview with him.
It's pretty impressive. We'll talk
That
about
you
that
even
more.
got to it. That's awesome.
We have our mini Wookiee in training here. This is
Django's made an appearance.
Django is the mascot of the show. So when we all die, Django gets the...
Yes, everything.
He'll star the show.
Everything here in the basement is left to him. He's my benefactor.
So
Talk about your background too, by the way.
Some new backdrops. I'd like to thank Tammy Tigelin, former guest of the show.
Yeah.
She works at the bar at the Gurney Cinema, and she noticed they had these really cool displays, and she knew that I would probably want them, and I got them. There were two of them. They were too big to fit in most cars known to man, so I had to surgically cut them apart, and I think I did a pretty good job of cutting them apart, and they folded up and folded down, and now I have them behind us, majestically. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, so these are anyone who saw the Last Jedi at the Gurney Cinema in Gurney, Illinois. These were the displays that were there.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. Should we talk about our opinion of the film?
Yes,
of course.
Sure. Well, I want to get Dobie's take. Dobie, what was the last time you went to the movies?
I think I saw the Poseidon Adventure in the 70s when I was just a sperm cell.
Okay.
Young lad, wee lad in my mother's womb.
So I want to get your take on this.
You still didn't like the movie.
A twinkle in your father's eye, at least?
Twinkle in my a friend of my father's.
Back when Moby Dick was a minnow.
Exactly right. I have to give my opinion in less than 10 seconds. It was a chunk of dung. I would not waste breath to sit through that large pile of crapola again. I think Mark Hamill. Can't think of his name.
McGuire.
Looks like you just got Mark. I just got Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch in there.
I think bunch in his pants.
Mark Hamill got out of the Dagobah rescue mission. He looks like a complete bum that he was left in a drunk tank. Carrie Fisher looks like she needed a wheelchair and a walker. It was the worst representation of a Star Wars movie. The Last Jedi, my last money goes to George Lucas. We'll talk to him a little bit more. I've never been a fan of the whole thing. Now let me get something straight. Everybody is a geek at something, and I'm totally okay with that. I have never been a geek of Star Wars, Star Trek, any kind of science fiction. Doesn't mean I don't respect people who do. I know there are millions who do. If that's what you get into, it's totally fine. From an outside entertainer person, I mostly like the Star Wars movies. I think the characters are well developed. I think the special effects are always cutting edge from the first one right up to the last one. I fell asleep through parts of this one. I sat there snoring, farting, squirming.
Oh, that was you behind me in the
totally
room.
They had the recliner seats. I could not stay awake. I thought it was a horrendous representation. They are out of ideas. They should give it up and bring back American Graffiti because George Lucas.
The chairs were the best part of the movie.
Look, I don't realize George Lucas is out of it. I was very much not a fan, and maybe I saw it completely wrong. What do you guys think? I don't say I'm right. I'm just saying I hated it, and hate is a strong word.
Similar view, but
Negative 5 stars.
Carrie, you go.
Out of 5 stars, if we're doing that, then
You don't
I
have
would
to.
say
You can do many stars.
I'll go halfway. I'll say 3. I love Star Wars movies and what they envelop with everything, and I'm exactly the same thing with you. I enjoy every time we get to go to the movie theater and see Star Wars. I don't go to the movie theater that often either. The last movie I saw before Star Wars was Zootopia, which was like 2 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, okay. Fair.
But Adam and I, that was the first time I've been in a recliner seat too. I did fall asleep for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I love the Star Wars movies.
Not a date movie.
No. And we've talked about this too, but I'm not trying to base it on our conversation. But when I watched it, I had a good time. There was emotions. I loved when Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher met up again during the movie, or Luke and Leia met during the movie again. That was very emotional.
They didn't really meet. It was a hologram.
That's during that part too.
Yeah, it was.
Just during the whole part. I thought it was just when he was out on the floor. Well, that part too. So that makes me even more sad now.
Have another drink, Luke. Have another drink.
Well, anyways.
Lukeaholic.
I mean, there's a couple. There was a couple aspects to the movie that they cut it short from the potential that it had. And if you're an avid follower of the Star Wars, I know this has been talked about for the past 2 months. It's been out, but who am I thinking of? Snoke. That was cut off early, way earlier than we all wanted.
He actually
it to
literally
be.
was cut off early.
Yes. Thank you, Kylo. But it was cut off early, and that was I think that was the biggest story arc we were all looking forward to seeing. If I'm speaking for everybody here.
Yeah.
And then Rey's parentage was just neglected, just basically told, she's nobody. So we're not going to touch on that subject again. But this all sounds very nitpicky right now, and I don't mean to sound like that. I mean, the visual effects were amazing, and they got nominated for, I think they got nominated for 4 Oscars this year.
Like that, yeah.
And it was amazing to watch. But just some of the nitpicky parts to Star Wars.
Yeah, like plot and fun and interest.
Everything.
Those little things don't matter.
Boy,
they had nice booms in the spaceship.
That one part where it just went silent for 10 seconds, though. That was intense.
That's actually the physics of that is actually accurate, though.
Yeah?
Because if something were to hit in space and explode, then a sound wouldn't be made because there's no
oxygen.
No oxygen, no any type of element to transport
that was cool.
sound wave.
Well, some people
That's
behind us...
That's the reason why the sun is so bright, yet we can't hear it.
Some people behind us were like, why is it so quiet? And it's like...
You can put some over your mouth and it'll be silent.
But it was a fun movie to watch. I haven't been to the movie theaters in a while.
Greg is ready to burst here, so I know he has something to
Well,
I know we have similar thoughts, but
Johnny does.
go ahead. Say it better than I did.
Here's the deal. Yeah, when I first saw it in 4D at the Gurney Mills Cinema. So 4D is you put the 3D glasses on, and the 4th D is you sit in these seats and they bump you around like a roller coaster, the wind shoots in your face, they throw water at you during specific scenes. It's actually quite a cool experience. So, that being said, the whole thing with Snoke disappointing, but I'm going to counterpoint to that. We didn't figure out who the Emperor was for a lot of years after we all saw Return of the Jedi. Like, wow, who's this guy? Like, Darth Vader has a boss? What the hell is that all about? We never found out about any of that until 20 years later in the new set of movies, or 10 years later, whatever the hell it was. So, yeah, it's a bummer we didn't know. But knowing what we know now, and knowing that the audience knows now, why wouldn't you just solve the mystery now? Why would you make them wait another 20 years to figure out yet another mystery?
It's going to be the repeating cycle.
All right, so then the whole Luke thing.
That too.
Here's the thing. Why wouldn't he go save his friends? Why would he send a hologram of himself? Makes no sense to me, because he left his training early on Dagobah, thanks for pointing that one out, and Empire Strikes Back to go save his friends rather hurriedly. That being said, that's what Jedis do when things go bad. They hide out in a cave, thank you Yoda, and wait for the world to pass them by thinking you're not useful to anyone. So Luke just went the way of Yoda and said, well, I'm too old to help, so I'm just going to die in my cave. Yoda tried to do that too. So I guess there's a point and counterpoint. Then there's the Princess Leia Disney scene. Thank you, Disney. She dies. She gets sucked out of the spaceship like a vacuum cleaner and dies for a moment. We see her skin crystallizing. Then all of a sudden, she turns into the Statue of Liberty and flies back to the ship using the Force. All right. Finally, we get to see Leia use the Force. There could have been another way they could have showed that. When the bridge blew up, she could have done this and stopped the glass and put it back, and everyone stayed in, and we'd have to see her floating around like Mary Poppins out in space that nobody wanted to see anyways.
That's the thing, too. They did not write her off of the movie at all.
No.
She is still alive, and Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford are still alive, but...
They couldn't get a scene with all of them together. J.J. Abrams, I blame you for this. I don't even know who directed the second one. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You can't get a scene with 3PO, R2, Chewie, Luke, Leia, and Han in one scene together and then start killing them off? I mean...
And the person that was written off isn't even here anymore, so how are they going to do that in Episode 9? That's the thing.
This movie did.
That being said, now I saw it a second time after wasting my money the first time.
Wow.
I saw it a second time because sometimes I'm too harsh of a critic first time through with almost anything I've ever seen. So having now going into it with zero expectations and zero lowering of all my, okay, now I know that nothing is going to happen, I'll see it again. I actually enjoyed it the second time around. Visually impressive, yes. There's still a lot of... This story has a lot of problems. The whole casino scene turned out didn't mean anything. Every scene contradicted the prior scene. So this movie was plot-driven and not character-driven, which is a big reverse from all the other Star Wars movies. So it was very problematic because there just wasn't much to go on. Now, we also have to remember that this is part of a trilogy. When Empire Strikes Back came out, and I was old enough to remember going to the movies, everyone left like, wow, what the hell did we just see? After the cool movie that was Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back hits, like, wow, this is some messed up stuff. Who the hell thought of that? Now we've all done the same thing for this one, and when Return of the Jedi comes out, we found our love again for the series. They tied everything up in a nice, neat bow and package, and there it was. So you have to realize that this is part 2 of a trilogy. I'm going to believe in a little bit of magic and hope that they can tie up the loose ends. In the third movie, maybe do a little bit of explaining, and we can move on with our lives. I guess that's what I'm hoping for.
There's speculation. Well, the first movie was directed by J.J. Abrams.
Then
the second one, I feel Ryan something. I feel bad.
Ryan Johnson.
What was it?
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson. I wanted to say Johnson, but I wasn't sure if that was it. So Ryan Johnson. But then the third movie's going to go back to J.J. Abrams.
He's got to fix what the Johnson
What just happened?
Up. No pun intended.
How did Johnson get the go to?
He's got the go for 3 more Star Wars movies. They loved him so much, he's got the go to do anything he wants to with the franchise.
But if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes status, so the critic review was like 93%, and the Watchers review was 57%.
So the critics loved it, the fans hated it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Also, there's a lot of scenes that they're not showing. I'm going to quick tie up a loose end here. The reason why Princess Leia isn't in the Senate of the New Republic is because once the end of Return of the Jedi happened, it was still the biggest secret in the galaxy that her and Luke were the spawn of Darth Vader, right? So once it got out that she was Darth's daughter, she was booted out of the New Republic because they didn't want any part to do with that because they didn't want another Darth Vader. So her and Luke pretty much get banished. Luke starts an academy somewhere in the middle of Nerd County part of the galaxy to get away from it all. Leia takes whatever band of rebels she has left and forms the Resistance to watch the new Empire form to try to keep them in check. So that's why Leia isn't in the New Republic government, and that's why she's floating in space with rebels still from Return of the Jedi. So that ties up that loose end. So the bottom line is they don't really explain a whole hell of a lot, and that's kind of a bummer to me.
Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah.
Star-wise, I would say 4.5 out of 5.
Really? This particular one.
And that's different from like a lot of people I've heard.
The Last Jedi.
Well, I would say it's
Were
closely...
you vaping during the movie here? Like, going around?
No, I wasn't actually. But
okay.
No, but the reason why I at least give it that half star is because yes, there were things that I really wanted to know throughout all of the Star Wars that I've grown up with, like what does a ship look like when it hyper shoots right into another ship, the silence from it, and then the other reason for that half star as well too is because they brought back one of my favorite characters that in puppet form, of course, as well too, not in CGI, which was Yoda as well, Master Yoda. So I really appreciated that. It brought back, it just brought back a good feeling towards it. I feel like it's closely. I would put it close to Return of the Jedi as one of my ultimate favorite types of.
Okay.
But it brought back a lot. But the other reason I do not give it like a full perfect score is because there were some confusions. In fact, I think it was a CNN interview that Mark Hamill had with some of the reporters. He talked about how he was disappointed with his character as well too, for the fact that now we once saw this younger Luke who is very hopeful, who felt that his father could change, which he did at the end, and now we have this other Luke, completely different, where he says that all hope is lost for the Jedi
because he's on a ripple.
Yeah, and he has, he's disappointed with his nephew as well too. And so, and I agree with him on that because what caused him to change like that, they really explain in the movie, but I felt like it wasn't even worth it because, everybody still wants to see that same energetic Luke as an older Jedi, as someone who's wise in that, or in those interpretations of, maybe not all hope is lost and everything.
Do you think he's done? I mean, could they bring it back somewhere?
Well, they might bring it back as a Force Ghost in the third film. I kind of hope they do.
That's likely.
He's going to be there.
Yeah, I think so.
But not physically.
Okay, but I'm saying he's still there. Gotcha. Okay.
Carrie Fisher's not going to be there physically.
No, pretty hard to bring her back.
So, let's speculate now. What do you guys think will happen to her between this movie and the next one?
The crawler's going to say for the next movie that she died en route to Planet X.
They're going to give her a sex change and make her Richard Simmons.
Yeah. The thing I was looking at as well too was the reason why also that I don't give it that perfect score is because they didn't really explain Rey as much, and her background, who she is fully, because we all expected that, just like the Return of the with the Empire Strikes Back, that middle movie really kind of brings in everything, not to a full point, but it's still very close. And I think that's one thing that like a lot of people that watched it were confused by. They were a little bit disappointed, dissatisfied, and I could definitely see that. My other theory is, and if we can bleed into the Han Solo movie, the new Star Wars, yeah. My theory is that when I saw the Han Solo trailer during the Super Bowl, of course, it kind of explained things when I saw who's the actress who's playing the
brown hair, Emilia Clarke, who plays Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so
Betty White.
But
it's her mom.
So that's supposedly Han Solo's husband, or what?
Solo's gay?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
No, but his wife, and so I feel like if there's any type of lineage towards Rey and everyone else in the Star Wars universe, it could be explained in the Han Solo Star Wars.
They look very similar.
It's plausible. I could see if they might do it.
So is this early Han Solo now? Pardon my lack of geekdom.
Yeah, it's
early when he was still a lot younger.
So they're gonna get a young actor.
Yeah.
To play him. Okay.
And then they got Donald Glover to play Lando.
Is that Danny Glover's kid?
Must be, yeah.
Danny Glover
sounds
is?
like
I wouldn't be. They did that with Ice Cube and Straight Outta Compton. They used his son
when he was still water.
Just a particle.
Yep.
Before the Ice Age.
Yeah, exactly. Crushed ice. As we come to a complete halt, I couldn't sit through that piece of crap. I'm thinking, how many $1 billion went into this? And I'm a little mad at George Lucas too. And you can tell next time you talk to him because I've tried it. I can't get through it.
So So where were some of the questions you asked him then? We didn't talk about
a lot of the questions I asked weren't really about not as much about the film. It was more about what his set goal was when he started the Star Wars franchise. One, yes, it was very unexpected how much it launched off once they released it to the public that there's going to be this movie called Star Wars, and that was very unexpected for him. But his overall set goal and how it impacted just American society in general, because you hear people say that sometimes where they're like, I've never seen a Star Wars movie, and you hear people say, well, then you're not a real American then. And
it's pop culture. There's no question about it. It is transcended entertainment and become pop culture, which is very difficult.
It's one of the films of Hall of Fame. But
oh my gosh, absolutely should be too.
But when I spoke to him about this, I talked about the impact, like the economic factors of it. Yes, it brought in big sales, big revenue, and just talked about how it curbed American society. And it was kind of the answer to pop culture in the sense that after the space race, after we landed a man on the moon, you had that type of scientific response. Can we go further? Can we dream bigger? Can we actually do space travel with once we find out what dark matter is all about? And I found that very inspirational of him. One of the few things I talked to him about the film as well too was I asked him this side note kind of question was about where he got coined the term the Rebel Alliance, because I took a class on Japanese history, and the Rebel Alliance was first kind of coined, used somewhat. It's not as much in the history books, but they describe it from many historians as the Rebel Alliance with the Japanese, during the Japanese Civil War in 1876, which ended the shogunate rule over the Imperial Japan. And you had three different provinces from Japan that took on, taking down, the nobles, the samurai as well too, and ending the age of the samurai, where then you have this transition of Japan becoming more of an industrial country.
No one said Star Wars was original. He took a lot from a lot of things, and that's okay. The farther back you steal, the more original you look.
And that's the funny thing. Like everybody, that's the one thing that everybody questions about George Lucas is where did he get the inspiration, for the Jedi, the Jedi tricks, the Jedi teachings, also the Sith teachings as well too. And so you ask, it's one of those things that people ask each other, would you rather be a Jedi or would you be a Sith Lord or something like that?
I would rather be George Lucas's banker.
Yeah.
Good.
His accountant.
Oh, wow.
Christmas.
Yeah, it is. So interesting. That must have been a lifetime. Did you get a chance to record it?
No, unfortunately I did not. It was one of the rules was not to record, but to just jot down notes and everything.
Neat.
That's all you did.
No, I think that's really cool. I mean,
cool.
Like him or
I
not,
just thought of that too. Yeah.
he's an iconic figure in American history
Oh, yeah.
and in film history. So hey, you got to admire the guy for that.
I agree.
I know Star Wars fans hate him, don't they?
Yeah, there's another special on Netflix, The People versus George Lucas. It's actually a pretty fun documentary.
Oh yeah.
That's a fun one. They go on and on and on about his list of faults and then what he got wrong and then what he got right, I guess. So I don't know. It's not like I'm going to stop watching Star Wars. I felt disappointed with the film that it answered nothing. It absolutely answered nothing.
It's like a filler.
And for $13 or whatever it is to get in, come on, throw
Yeah,
a
we
kid
paid
a bone.
15.
15, whatever it was. And how about it? No popcorn is that good. Throw a little nugget.
Throw us a bone, man.
Throw us a bone.
I think it was worth seeing that end part though, where he tricks Kylo Ren into thinking he actually killed him.
Yeah. Okay,
the ultimate Jedi mind trick.
Yes.
So if you were saying he was a hologram during that whole part,
Yep.
I was just thinking it was him on the planet itself. But then if I can't remember if Leia actually maybe touched him
She
or
did.
hugged. So did she know it was a hologram then by hugging it?
We'll never know now.
Until the next movie.
Probably, hopefully.
Then their ghosts will kiss one last time like they did in Hoth.
One of the things that I always want to know as well too, because I've spoken to other people about this, the terms of where does Rey fit into the whole Star Wars universe. One of the things that I would be oddly satisfied with in some ways, if she kind of came out of no one. Like, she just is just this person that was born with the Force as well too. She has no correlation with the Skywalkers, with the Solos, or anyone else. She's just this random person that showed up and had.
Well, that's
with the bun hair.
I know that would be hard to accept.
3 bun hairs.
It's not hard to accept because it's talked about how the Empire got rid of Force-sensitive people during Stormtrooper training.
Yeah.
So the Imperial fleet would go on all these different systems, take all these candidates. Those who showed Force-sensitive powers are usually the ones who ended up being first or have the best aim or what have you. They were somehow eliminated in training and killed right off. So they couldn't have Force-sensitive beings. So some of that's explained in the cartoon series Rebels. So, I mean, it stands to reason that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of Force-sensitive beings out there. So then you ask, well, what happened to them all? Well, the Empire probably killed a ton of them during Stormtrooper training. So that
probably had it covered.
Part of that.
Oh, yeah.
Sons of
They were
bitches
asking for it.
But the question comes up, and I would definitely ask George Lucas this as well too, if he was here right now, is can you actually kill off, Force-sensitive people?
Get him on the phone.
I wish
So you got it through Skywalker Ranch then? That's what you had it? Or when it actually happened, what was the process to do it?
I emailed one of his secretaries, of course, and she responded to me reluctantly in 2 weeks. And obviously, busy guy, busy schedule. In fact, that was around the time he was living in Chicago and he was trying to get the Star Wars Museum up.
Right.
Why was it? Would Chicago had any significance whatsoever?
Because Rahm Emanuel didn't want it in the city. At least that's what.
No. But why would George Lucas want to put it there? No offense.
I never really thought.
I don't know why they're.
I mean, they weren't filmed there, or none of the stars.
Because he's got everything else on the coast, and if you want to make a museum available to all the public, stick it in the middle.
Stick it in the middle of the country. Mm-hmm.
So that it's like a halfway point out there.
Which I would have applied for a job there. Mm-hmm. As part-time museum curator.
You could have been the curator, buddy.
Bring him here, not there.
I'm saying you have it here in the compound.
Competitors.
Yeah. George, you just come to the compound. Then we have to kill him because you know where it is.
Oh, yeah.
We did that with James already. He went too far.
He disappeared.
That's right. Interesting, Danny. Thanks for being with us. That's fascinating.
It's good stuff.
Thanks, John.
I know
appreciate it.
We appreciate having you. There are millions of people that are infatuated with the whole Star Wars brand and the series. And on the Mothership, that's what we do. That one really, they're going to have to crap fire the next time. And I mean that literally or figuratively.
If you were to name the next Star Wars movie, it'd be Star Wars Episode 9. I'm too old for this shit.
I would call it boobs and motorcycles. That's what it's going to take to bring me back.
Sith crapping fire.
Of Sith. That's what we call it. No, I am an outside fan, just like I would say the average American, like the World Series. There are people that aren't necessarily baseball fans that will watch the World Series or the Super Bowl because, it's an American.
No matter what team is in it, it's just a tradition to watch it.
They'll have a party around it. I think Star Wars franchise has become that too. Well,
the important thing is you saw it.
I'm a comedian. I don't have to, but it behooves me to see pop culture events like that.
And it gives you material too.
Yeah, it's kind of my cultural job to go see it, and I went there with open mind. I liked all the rest of them. That one just went south fast, and it did not win me over, and I'm sorry about that. I did not like any part of it.
I think the biggest shocker for me with the newest Star Wars films that actually came out is, I'm 25 years old, so growing up, looking up at like Mark Hamill.
I am your father, Johnny.
Mark Hamill, the actors like him and not Darth Vader. Also, Obi-Wan Kenobi played by what's his name?
Alec Guinness.
No.
Ian McGregor.
Ian McGregor, thank you. Liam Neeson, and Hayden Christensen, growing up and seeing those types of people, they're a lot older than you, and you're like, man, there's someone you look up to. And now I'm around the same age as these younger actors and actresses that are playing the roles as well too, and I'm watching them, and I feel like, I'm in the same age group as they are, and so I feel less impacted by them, but still very good choreographing in the lightsaber or the saber fights.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is when you see it in your life. It's very important point that you brought up because
as a child, it's impactful.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, what was the one that you saw as a child? The first one you saw, the first installment, was probably the
90s, the
one?
reinstallment ones of the
prequel.
Right.
Yeah.
The prequel. And I mean, did you hate those movies? I mean, were they impactful on you as a kid?
Oh yeah, they really did impact me for the fact that One, it was confusing because of the fact that, it was an older movie, so I've seen the newest movies, as a kid, and so this was a little bit of a changer. But what really caught my inspiration with Star Wars was when I saw the Episode 1 Phantom Menace, and just everything was better, obviously, because of CGI, because technology definitely progressed. And the saber fights were a lot more fast-paced.
The Darth Maul lightsaber fight goes down as one of the best lightsaber fights of all time.
But I mean, okay, I saw the first one at age 14. And my cousin is 7 years younger. He's 7. And at 7 years old, when the first one came out, he worships everyone. He can name all the characters in his generation. That's
the same exact thing that happened to my brothers. They probably watched at the age of like 4 or 5, and it's just the biggest thing that's ever happened to them. And they want a collection like this. They visited here before too, and they're in awe of it.
They shoplifted a little, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
They took a few things.
They seem the type.
We are going to land the Millennium Falcon. No offense. If you have an opinion on Star Wars, did you like it? Did you not like it? You can get a hold of us. How, Carrie?
We got the Facebook friend page at Gregory DeGuire, and we have the fan page at the Mothership Connection, and our email at tinfoiltalkshow@gmail.com.
So great. Are you happy with it or not happy with it? What's your final verdict?
My final verdict is meh. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. I'm going to wait for final judgment until the third installment comes out.
And then you can look at it as a whole.
You can look at it as a whole. As a standalone, meh.
Johnny gave it 4.5 stars. I give it -5 stars. What do you think?
3 stars.
Let us know. We would like to know. The Mothership lands one more time. My name is Dobie Maxwell. Thanks to all our staff and guests. We will talk to you next time we fly. Don't go anywhere.